Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Something happened in the way the Ukrainians are reporting the news lately. They are telling us about the Russian successes, whereas before they didn't, for obvious reasons. But I observed that, I noticed that in the past, let's say month and a half, the Ukrainians started using, for instance, the Institute for the Study of War, which in my assessment is not really an institute for study of war. It is just a spinning institute. And here we have an article from Ukrainska Pravda where the Ukrainians tell us that the Russians advance in industrial zone in Avdiivka. You wouldn't say that, but I think this occurred already some time ago, which could be a week and a half, 2 weeks, and only now they concede, yeah, it happened. I think Avdiivka is already done, but these guys are just reporting, hoping that things will change in the near future, which I don't think. I think it's already dead. So let me show you this article from Ukrainska Pravda. It is from today, the 7th of December 2023, a day that would live in infamy. Is that what they said about the attack on Hawaiian Islands? Actually, only on which Hawaii at that time was not a U.S. state, correct, in Pearl Harbor. So we have here Russians advance in industrial zone near Avdiivka, Institute for Study of War. They wouldn't, I mean, obviously this is a success for the Russians, and these guys are reporting it. I don't think they just started being objective or really, I think it's an order somewhere where these guys received, and they are just fulfilling it. Russian forces conducted offensive operations near Avdiivka on 6th of December and made confirmed progress, Institute for the Study of War. Geolocation footage released on December 6 shows that Russian forces have made minor advances in an industrial area southeast of Avdiivka. So let me show you where that is. I want to use a Russian map right here. And this is Ukraine, obviously, and Avdiivka is right here. Let me see. What if I refresh this one? This shows it's from the 4th. Maybe they're gonna show a different thing here. This is from the 6th. So Avdiivka is right here in Donetsk. I don't see much changes. It's just that it continues the operation to surround it, and we'll see if what information the Ukrainians are giving us. See, they don't even put. I can go closer, zoom in. So let's see what these guys are saying here. So the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that Ukrainian forces had repelled at least 25 attacks. Now it says 7 kilometers northwest of Avdiivka. Now northwest should be, if this is Avdiivka, should be here somewhere. This is north. Northwest probably here. Let's give them this, but I would say it's more than that. Then they said 4 kilometers north of Avdiivka, as well as 3 kilometers north of Avdiivka. 6 kilometers west of Avdiivka. 6 kilometers? They repelled at least 25 attacks. Now west of Avdiivka would qualify as here. This is west, right here. And this is east. So, and then he says 6 kilometers west of Avdiivka, 5 kilometers west of Avdiivka, and 11 kilometers southwest of. So that means they repelled attacks, at least 20 attacks actually in this area right here. So how would you repel attacks on this area? Because it said southwest, it said west, northwest, and north. So this is the area. Well, are the Russians coming from the west then? It says that footage released on December 5 supposedly shows units of the Russian 87th and 1487th regiments. I think that's a mistake right here. Anyway, First Army Corps of the so-called DPR, which is a self-proclaimed and non-recognized Russia-controlled quasi-state formation, and the 10th Tank Regiment, and the Veterans Sabotage and Assault Brigade operating in the industrial area southeast of Avdiivka. Ukrainian forces counterattacked near Avdiivka and made confirmed progress. Geolocation footage released on 5 December showed Ukrainian troops advancing in Stepovye. Let's say what these guys are saying then. To quote the Institute for Study of War's key takeaways on December 6, Russian forces conducted notably large series of drone strikes against Ukraine on the night. Okay, we got that one. This guy goes over here. So basically, this is the takeaway from this little article, which is the Russians are attacking here, and these guys repel it. How do you repel it from this? Unless you come from this side. I think this is already encircled. That's my assessment on this, but I said it many times, Avdiivka is already done, but it's just that the same as it happened with the counteroffensive, because they hope that somehow things will change. They keep the information. That's what they did with the counteroffensive, and not only. In the almost 2 years of war over there, I understood how these guys are actually reporting the news. They hope that, let's say, counteroffensive, nothing happens a few days, like they don't break the Russian defense forces, then they don't report it. They hope that they will come with the good news. That's why they didn't report anything. It was not necessary that, hey, we're not going to spread the news, because the Russians already reported it. Prigozhin at that time said they already attacked. Shoigu said the counteroffensive started. So people knew. It's just that the Ukrainians hoped that they will break away, they do something, they will break the defenses, and they could say, oh, your counteroffensive is on, we already advanced towards Moscow. So it didn't happen. The same it was in Bakhmut, the same thing. I said Bakhmut was encircled and overran about a month before they did it. Why? By the way, you have to understand, it's a snowball. Once it's released and goes down the hill, rolls down, it's not going to come back up. So the same here. Sometimes, in war you can do something like, but in this case, no. Once these guys are going around and you're losing ground and they get beyond a certain point, you're not going to be able to break that. And remember how the Soviets encircled Stalingrad. That was the end of it. It was just, once they broke one front, but that was one front. That was it. But here it's just the Ukrainians do not have at this point the manpower. They don't have the firepower, and the Russians slowly. And it seems like you can't allow yourself leaving behind forces or things unsolved. It's like in arithmetics or mathematics. When you study it, if you miss a few classes, you're done. You're done, because it builds on those that piece of information. In social science, it's not necessarily the same thing. If you don't, you miss a class or two, okay, you don't learn about Austria, let's say in geography, but then you can always go back, and it doesn't build on Austria. Not necessary unless you go and do something much bigger than that. Oh my God, we want to do something on Austria, and I missed a class. But here in mathematics, if you miss 2, 3, 4 classes, then everything that goes over there, you have those things that you don't know, and you're not going to be able to understand the future things. So I think the Russians, what they're doing, when they're advancing, they don't jump, because they leave behind things that are unsolved. Therefore, those things will create bigger problems for the future advances when they're going to advance. So same, I think they go slowly and they make sure that everything is clean behind, and then keep going while they're brushing everything behind them. That's one problem, if you remember, with the Blitzkrieg, when the Germans, the tanks went through Netherlands and avoided the Maginot, the French line, the Maginot line, and they just bypassed it like this. They went so fast with the tanks that they were like in a V formation like this. They went so fast that these guys were, because behind you, you have to make sure that this keeps an angle. Because it's like this, the other guys can come behind you and cut you off. And then you're done. You're in circle. You're in the middle of... So that's why you have to keep this like this. So you get all the supplies behind you and you broaden it. You can't be like too thin of a spear, because they will cut you behind and you're going to be surrounded. Or you can't have contact with the guys behind you and they're cut off your resources. So the same here with the Russians. You can't just go too fast ahead. These guys could regroup behind you and create problems. And that's a big problem when you have guerrilla war, where people, behind you and you have people in front of you. But I don't think the Ukrainians have the manpower anymore, but still. Well, that could be one explanation why the Russians are advancing when they're advancing slowly. And obviously the Ukrainian opposition. I'm not trying to discard the bravery of the Ukrainian army or anything like that. It's just that they will be slowly overwhelmed by the Russians. This is what I said before, and I will continue to say it. And many other people say it, because that's this is not a Hollywood movie, where the weak... what's his name, beats Goliath. What's his name? David beat Goliath or something. There's no wonder weapon to kill him, because if you look at that it wasn't... Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. I don't want to go and get into the David and Goliath here. Stay strong, stay smart, probably later. Look for the truth and be just.